Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Market Check brought to you by BB. A reminder, as always, guys, that there is no second best daily YouTube live stream to talk about markets. Getting a little bit more volatility today than maybe the first 2 days of the week. We're going to discuss it and a whole lot more today, guys. But I'm Tommy. You also know me as Snorlax. I'm joined by Tucker, Max, and of course, Chef Jackus. Welcome, everybody, to our final show of the month of April. But yeah, I know I made a joke about it yesterday, but holy cow, talk about a month flying by. I really just feel like that is very much a characteristic of operating in markets, especially when you're kind of just benchmarking, time based on like monthly, quarterly candles, for example. But before we can get too deep into, kind of talking about this morning's volatility, right? Because we did get a little bit of a sell-off. We're getting a bit of a recovery right now. Obviously, I'm sure everybody has questions about, what's going to happen going forward. But before we can get into that, guys, I'm going to ask you very nicely today, if you can hit the like button for us, please. Please and thank you. We're always very appreciative when you guys do that, of course. We have not shown you the soybeans against your will in God knows how long, but maybe we do it today, maybe we don't. Either way, like I said, we're always very appreciative when you guys hit the like button, of course. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, because we are here every single day delivering these shows at the same time. But that's enough yap. Let's get into the market, right? Because we are seeing a little bit of red this morning, specifically, I think, because I believe we had some poor GDP print, which probably isn't a huge surprise if you've been, obviously tracking the tariffs, the projected negative economic impact that those are going to potentially cause. Obviously, we've got some geopolitical uncertainty as well, but I don't think that that's really what drove the sell-off this morning. We gapped down, but right now, for the most part, we are recovering pretty well, I think, and probably going to eat up most of this dump throughout the day, if I had to guess, just based on this lower time frame price action. Where we go from here, I think will be determined by a few things, right? I mean, Bitcoin is, for one, coming into resistance. The NASDAQ is as well, but I also think you have the VIX coming into support. Probably get some form of exit pump on volatility as well here over the coming weeks. But yeah, I mean, I think that we'll probably see, I think, a little bit more clarity on these things here over the next few sessions, probably over the next 1 to 2 weeks. But in the meantime, I like the idea of a bit of an intraday squeeze. Anytime we get negative economic data that moves the market in a 1 or 2% gap up or down, you typically rebalance that. And I think we'll probably see that here into the end of today. But I'd love to know what we're thinking about the markets, guys. Not just today, but obviously going into the month of May. It's really hard to believe that it is already freaking May this year. But how are we doing, guys? What are we seeing in the markets? Any thoughts, any tickers that are specifically sticking out? And if you, the audience, have any tickers that you'd like us to take a look at, drop those in the comments as well.
Well, first of all, we had absolutely insane monthly candles. Let's highlight that. I think they look absolutely incredible. When it comes to price action, man, we had 2 exciting days, and now range again. And surprise, surprise, a range within a range within a range, sort of. But it seems like we had, from the lows, we had a nice run up that took approximately 4 days, then 8 days of range, and then 2 days of upside. And now we are on a 7 days of range again. So I tend to think that either tomorrow or the day after, we probably get another move. And we cannot wait for it, because these micro scalp ranges where people try to short and long on leverage, and market makers just are in heaven, stopping everyone out. It's kind of boring. So yeah, bring it.
That monthly on Bitcoin, Jackus. That looks, I mean, I like it.
Who could have foreseen?
I like it, brother.
One simple line to rule them all.
Yeah, bro. One line. Jeez, I wonder if there's another one here. Kind of.
You can extend it to even April of 2021. I think that suits even better.
On log, probably. I mean, you can.
No,
April 2021.
the upper one.
This guy?
Yeah, but the upper one.
To where? To here?
Yeah, like that. I like it. I like it better that way. It's more like cup and
Yeah.
handle-ish.
There's this one too, which actually did play pretty well on log. Look at that. Look at that, baby. This is big. This is a big spot right here. Right on that line. We need to hold it. We really need to hold like 93K, in my opinion. I really don't want to Bart. Yeah. not lights out, but I think he'd come back to like there. But yeah, big spot for sure.
I think we're going to get some drop in May, obviously.
Wait, Jackus, hold on. What is your picture right now?
That's me, of course.
That's you? Okay. Yeah. That's what I thought.
No, that's the guy from Slim Fat Boy album. Never mind, but maybe some people know and what he has on the picture. Sorry, on the t-shirt. But yeah, I have a few others here. Soon it will be, this guy. And we just did undergo this guy in March and April. And then it was this situation. And then this.
Oh, yeah.
Now it's more like this. This one is the most suitable today.
I like that one.
That monthly candle is absolutely amazing, and the fact it came straight from that upper trend line. The diagonal SR is absolutely crucial.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just I think there is going to be a wick in May to the downside, but I think it's going to end up as a wick.
Yeah, let's look at this monthly real quick. Yeah, I mean, if we put in a wick, I don't love. We need to kind of save the weekly look a little bit, though. I don't want to see that like 3-bar thing. I don't want to see that, but as long as we're above this line, I like it. As long as we're above like 93s, I think we're in good shape. But I mean, I kind of agree. You probably get like I said, if we do come back down a little bit, I'm looking for like this and like this quickly.
I don't even know if you go that low, bro. I'll be honest. I'm not.
Well, if you BART this, right? If you BART this, then
I don't think you're gonna BART it, bro. Okay.
If
I kind of think your worst case here would be like taking out that, see like all the lows on that little cluster there, just like sweeping the lowest. Yeah, like
this.
Yeah. I feel like it would just be like a shallow jeet down into there. I don't know if I see some like big pullback right here. I feel like they want to scam it higher before, even if they would take it lower.
Yeah.
I could see them taking the local highs before downside, but I kind of think the way they're going to paint Bitcoin is going to be like a faster version of what we saw in that 6-month range that we came out of last year.
Wait, Jackus, what is 90 kg in pounds?
Well, you guys talk to me in pounds and miles and all of this alien stuff, so I decided to talk in real world metrics, and you do the math. Because I always have to look up these alien metrics on my own. So, yeah, I have no idea what it is.
Okay, it's 198 pounds. I got you.
All right. See, the market's so fun. We are discussing the weight of my little persona and the metrics.
It's truly the meme that nothing ever happens. It's just
Indeed.
like you get like a few days of fun and then just like bullshit for the rest.
2 days of fun for an exchange of 8 days of range.
Yes. It's like that trade deal meme.
Do I lift? Man, I'm carrying all these
forgot.
heavy bags. All these heavy bags from crypto. Do you know how heavy they are? I lift every single day.
No,
I think we're getting close.
I remember
to a big-
GCR saying back in like
That's
I was just going to say, I
typical.
remember GCR saying in 2022, typically with Bitcoin, like there's only, I want to say like 80 or 90% of the gains the Bitcoin's going to put in any given year. You did in like 7.
Oh no. Tommy, what did GCR say? We can't hear you.
He just rugged.
This is the meme, Max.
He's gone.
Well,
Let me
well,
see.
well.
Yeah. Yeah, literally.
Would you look at the time?
Did you look at that? Nothing.
Nothing. I really want to know what GCR was saying, bro.
Yeah, he teases us and then just rugs. Do you know what? He was like this. Bow. And gone. So what do we think, guys, of the Biden stock market? Is it Biden stock market or Trump stock market? Maybe it's Obama stock market. Who knows these days?
Well, if the market pumps, it's Trump's market. If it dumps, it's Biden's market.
That's
And I
how
can
the
live with
rules are
that.
made.
That makes perfect sense to me. You know,
Indeed. It's
I
sort
want
of
Trump
like
to just tweet out like you wouldn't get it.
it's sort of like when the price goes up, it's very organic, but when it goes down, so it's manipulation.
Yes, exactly.
I like that. We have so much to learn. Now, truth to be told, obviously there is some truth to it and some isn't. Nothing's black and white. So obviously, when you inherit some things, it takes time before your fingerprints can be seen, and vice versa. When you inherit it, there is still the fingerprints of the former guy. Even if you inherit a house, it takes time to make it look like yours, and so forth. So obviously, the economy is a fluid thing. It doesn't change from a day-to-day basis. So definitely, there are still some Biden fingerprints on the stock market too. And his administration, of course. But obviously, the tariffs definitely helped, and that's Trump's doing. And to add further piece of the context, the stock market was likely to pull back anyways, because it was basically up for 860 days, which is nearly 3 years, and So yeah, the bigger pullback was potentially going to happen regardless. Judging someone based on such a short sample of time is just stupid. So let's see how everything is after 4 years. I still say that, in my opinion, after his administration is over, I still think the biggest winners in the world will be both. Most people don't think this. They think it's either going to be China or US, and right now probably most think that US will be a biggest loser, but I think both US and China will be big winners, and the big loser will be Europe.
You're such a Europe hater, Jackus.
I'm a big lover of Europe, actually. I think it's a great place. I'm just hater of the of our current rulers and the establishment that's in there.
Decision
Yeah.
time soon, brother. Decision time soon.
I saw a lot of angry Canadians last night.
Yeah,
On
what
X.
happened?
Yeah.
They have a new prime minister. And I think it's
They don't like him.
well, apparently they do because they elected him, but it seemed like a lot of the guys that are like crypto traders from Canada were pretty pissed off. So I don't really know. I don't follow Canada's politics at all, but it just seemed like the guys that I follow that are Canadian were like, what the fuck are we doing? Like, just, I guess he's super liberal or something. I don't know. They weren't happy, but apparently they elected him. So
66% cap gains proposed.
okay, that's
Oh my god.
criminal. That's
God.
criminal, man.
That's not okay.
At least here in the US, long-term cap gains isn't bad. If you can hold something for a year, it's not terrible. What's it, like 20% or something? A little bit more.
For
Short term is
long-term?
bad in the US. Short term in the US is like 40%, but
I'm pretty
66
sure
is
long term's
pretty
like in the mid-teens, bro.
I don't think so, dude. I'm pretty sure it's like 20. Maybe that's just my state because like I have state stuff too, but I'm pretty sure it's like about a fourth or fifth of whatever your gain is.
Well,
Either
that's,
way, not even close to 66. Not bad at
no.
all. But
not even close. I don't
Yeah,
know if
but
that
my
might be
accountant is
short-term.
always like, if you can just get to that 1 year mark, you'll save yourself a lot of money. And it's tough to try to trade around that because sometimes you'll be looking at it and you'll be like, all right, 30 days from now, we're probably going lower. But like, what about 6 months from now? So you kind of have to think about it differently and say, do I want to try to hold through local volatility if I think it's going to be higher, 6 months from now, which can be a little mentally taxing, but it is very annoying. Like, I actually really like what Czech did recently, where, correct me if I'm wrong, Jack, is if you hold Bitcoin or crypto for over 3 years, there's no taxes on it or something like that.
Yes.
Which I feel like really makes a lot of sense, where if you're holding something for a long period of time, just get rid of the cap gains on it, man. It's a very annoying thing to have to consider.
Well, honestly, you shouldn't be paying any taxes on already taxed money that you are trying to support the economy with, right? Like, it makes no sense, but obviously we know nothing makes sense in when it comes to those who create taxes. And as someone well pointed out today earlier in the BB Discord, is that they don't do it for logic or reason. They just do it to keep everyone at their lines.
Well, it's like
Which
the
is
mafia, man. It's like, oh, like, here, you need to pay this weekly fee for protection. That's what
Yeah.
it feels like to me. It'd be a
Literally.
shame if there was a fire at your business.
Literally.
Imagine that.
Literally.
It's what it feels like.
Max, so it's 15% in the US for long term if you make between 50 and 500K, which is obviously most people. So
What about over 500K? Like the
then
highest?
20.
What's the highest one?
20.
Okay, so that's what I was thinking of then. But yeah, I mean, unless you're a very, very high earner. It's not too bad. Dude, which is great because, by the way, most of my shit coins now are long-term cap gains because I've been the diamond hand king of this cycle. So when that time comes to just jeet everything, I cannot wait. I cannot wait to not get slaughtered by short-term cap gains. It's very, very nice.
Speaking of those, man. So again, I still stand by the fact that it makes no sense to, when you earn money, you tax it, you then try to invest it, and you have to tax it again. That makes no sense on its own. But at least when you do it on something like longer term, when you say, hey, when you hold stuff more than 3 years, you don't have to tax it. In some way, at least, like, I can understand it as it like you incentivize people to invest and hold for a longer period of time rather than just be a short-term speculator, right? So in that sense, at least it, like, some sense it makes. But yeah, I'm just glad we have zero taxes on crypto holdings for longer than 3 years.
Yeah, that would be, if we could get that in the US, we would have a really crazy bull market from that catalyst. If we had some major, cap gains, specific crypto cap gains, tax reform in the US, which, by the way, I actually think is coming.
Me too.
Kind of a gut feeling. But also, Tommy, I need to press you on this. What was GCR about? What did GCR say? Because you were about to tell us and then you got rugged.
I did get rugged very hard. No, I remember GCR said back in like 2022 that, I mean, like 80 to 90% of Bitcoin's gains are going to occur over the course of like probably 7 or 8 trading days throughout the year. Because we were talking about how, you get a trend day and then you just get all this range. And I think that's just kind of like the difficulty of playing Bitcoin versus playing altcoins is that, if you're trying to long it after a day where, it is one of those, like, let's say 7 or 8 days a year with the best gains, you're usually going to have to endure quite a lot of chop.
Yeah, it certainly feels that way. I mean, you can even just look at the chart and it's like you gap up hard for like maybe 30 days at the most, usually less. And then you just have like the longest bullshit range of death. And you just have to sit there for half a year and wait.
Yeah.
That's this cycle, by the way, more or less. It wasn't like this in the prior ones, but I think it's the scheme of this one. And it's what I was telling you, Max, I think at the beginning of February when I was saying, what if we I
remember that conversation and I said, no chance. I said, why would you ever think that? That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. And then it happened. It's crazy. I remember it was a visual. You drew it on total. And you're like, what if it just like does this and makes a new high and then like goes back to the low and then like goes back to the high? And I was like, no way. 4-year cycle.
No way.
But the good news is about this is that we can get like a very prolonged bull market that can last, many, many years.
The problem is, Jack, is I don't want that. I want to be rich tomorrow. Okay.
I know.
I don't want to be here for 4 more years waiting for my shit coins to
right here.
This is This is exactly what it's going to happen.
By the way, Tommy also said something like this. He said Max Payne is that you want to be rich quickly and you're going to be here for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I guess you guys were right. So fuck me. Here we go.
Like we know the markets go up. They just don't go up as quick as you want it to.
Yeah. For now. It'd be nice if we could get like a few months of bullishness, like bullish summer would be awesome. Have some fun.
Super cycle where everybody was right about crypto adoption, but wrong on time frame. So most people end up missing out either because they're chasing fast gains or they just didn't have the patience to stick it out.
Seems more likely.
You speak dirty to us, Tommy.
But I don't know how you guys feel, but locally I don't really see too much lower than here. at this point. I feel like we finally had our first real shift of market structure in like 4 months.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of people are, I don't want to say this because I feel like it's overused, but people are really conditioned to just like fade every single pump because it's worked for literally the entirety of this year. But there's a pretty clear shift of trend that's happening right now. I don't know if I think we get a super deep pullback. I could see sub 90 maybe, but at the same time, I'm like, I just know it's time to be long. Like, we've had a shift of trend after 4 months of just getting obliterated every single day. Like, good news, nuke. Bad news, nuke. Like, every attempted reclaim, fade, And now we're just kind of like, we marked up, shift, we basically engulfed 2 months of bearish structure in like a weekly candle. And we're about to have, as Jack has mentioned, a really juicy looking monthly candle, which, some people don't like to look at the monthly, some do. I get it. I see both sides. But Tucker, maybe you could draw the previous range before we mark down. Like from that consolidation after that. Yeah, like right up there. Just
Mhm.
draw me a little range. To me, it feels like we're back inside the previous range. And I don't really have an interest in like fading this move.
Yeah.
I feel like we're back inside the previous range. I could see a little lower, maybe, but I'm not expecting some BART from up here. I'm not. We just engulfed 2 months of bearish price action in a weekly candle. And I feel like there's a lot of shorts and sideline people that sold in late February or early March that are like, oh shit, I got a decision to make here. Like I was, in front of the drop. Things were looking good. And now either I need to buy back higher because they sold somewhere below that range low. Or they were short and they have a decision to make. They're getting squeezed pretty hard here. So I'm not expecting a BART from here. I'm not personally, but I don't know how you guys feel. I'd love to know how you guys are viewing this, but this is kind of how I'm seeing it, is just the chop solidation, bullshit compression before another markup is how I feel like this is going to play out.
I might steal a chart here, and I know I'm
You going to
not
Tommy it?
supposed to say it.
Tommy the
I'm
chart?
not gonna Tommy it.
See, Jack, is you messed up though, because the thing is, you don't announce the Tommy, you just take it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
just
You just
I
do
did it because I didn't want anyone to start speaking. So I just kind of filled the gap before I was ready for it to share it. And it worked as intended.
I love that one time, like 6 months ago, Tommy did that.
No,
And
that was
ever
like
since then,
Oh, dude, that was like 2
one
years
and a
ago.
half years ago by
Yeah.
now.
I have no concept of time anymore.
Nobody alive even remembers it anymore.
I just remember one time, and I'm pretty sure we were even like pressing Tommy to show his chart, and then he just did it, and we're like, "You just stole the chart. You Tommied it." The most
Anyway.
unfair term of all time, but now it's here forever.
So, first of all, I feel everyone is sort of overcomplicating stuff too much lately, as I kind of feel like, because everyone's like, oh yeah, everyone's bullish. That means that I need to be bearish. But then people are bearish because everyone is bullish, so that means I need to be bullish, and so forth and so forth. And then they will do like, yeah, I see a line, but then there is something else, and so on, and everyone gets lost in this overly complicated, either technical or art of the deal fundamentals stuff. And you want to really keep it simple. And for example, this drop, right, that we had in since January, you just wanted to keep a single line on the chart and be like, or maybe two, right? And you just wanted to be, hey, we've broken clearly the downtrend here, and we are clearly, it's not a fake out, we are holding the support, right? Broken downtrend, broken support. Well, that means higher, and guess what? It was the higher, and this is all you technically needed. Obviously, you want to support it with context, with other stuff. You mentioned, Max, that we had just this, big of a move in a single week that erased, the last two monthly 2 months, basically, we could say, right? It's absolutely true. Again, I think people are missing the basics. We had totally efficiently traded downtrend here. That held way better than any other macro asset out there, pretty much. Stocks dropped way further, way quicker. Bitcoin held up really well. Didn't even touch the March 2024 highs. Lots of stuff dropped below its August 5th lows, by the way. So BTC traded very efficiently. And then when it broken out inefficiently. What does it tell us? Every single time there is an impulsive move to the upside and very efficient down move. Very efficient down move, impulse to the upside. Very efficient down move. Well, here, sort of. A little inefficient, but then very quick impulse to the upside. Very quick impulse to the upside again, and then slow downside. And very quick impulse to the upside, and then very gradual, very efficiently traded downside. And guess what? Another very quick impulse to the upside. So not to mention that we have front run this level, and that still means that we are very bullish, in my opinion. And I think too many people are overcomplicating it in that sense. And I think lots of people should rather ask the question. And again, just like I was saying, hey, you want to keep it very simple here, when we were around here 2 weeks ago. You want to keep it very simple and just do this one line. Just do this and be like, yeah, this was a big cup and handle. We broken it to the upside and retested, right?
But Jackus, you can't just draw a line on a trading view chart and expect
make
it to
it
bounce
bounce.
because of the GDP print and tariffs. Like, you can't just draw a line. It doesn't work like that.
Of course not.
It's silly.
It's totally stupid. But
I
hey,
suppose you're gonna tell me next that dinosaurs existed. I don't even know what I can believe anymore.
yeah. No, but anyways, but back to the cook stuff. You really want to keep it as simple as this, and be like, yeah, we broken the diagonal. It was efficiently traded. Bitcoin held well. There is major adoption for it. Stuff is bullish, and don't overcomplicate it, because I think in that overcomplication people get it messed up, and it's probably PTSD of the past times, but that's how it is. And I think what most people should be worried about, and I really think the risk is to the upside, not to the downside, is that I feel very little people can now imagine something very impulsive to the upside like this. And it's totally unimaginable for most. It's nearly an insult when you try to show something like this. Like, it's like, how dare you? In 2017, there was a major breakout.
Look at this, 330K, and I am out. Me too, brother. Me too.
There was a major breakout from all-time highs as well. And then you had even something you could consider like a break of structure here. And lots of people sold. Lots of people sold anywhere, around this area. And it already felt in here as if like this is the parabola. When you look at this back then, this looked like a parabola. this looked like this was the healthy bull market. And then you had the big breakout to the upside. And you then get this, right? And you're like, yeah, maybe it continues, and then it fails and breaks down. This made so many people sell it and not trust the next move. And it could have been, right? But then the market makes the impulsive move to the upside. When it has done so, this is where you wanted to, where you needed to, if by, and you could have had lots of arguments for being bearish, right? It could have, but it didn't continue. You held the low here, you held the range, you bounced back up. You needed to flick back to bullish, right? I retested this level, didn't retest exactly this one. Well, would depend on an exchange, of course. But what I'm trying to say is, obviously we know that, from hindsight, but the market continued way higher and went to a real parabola like this. And this was totally unimaginable from the perspective where you watched it go into a parabola here after all of this. And something like this was totally crazy, because again, your scaling at the time was at best like this, and like, you see what I'm talking about? Like this scaling, this is the same scaling. I'm not adjusting it. This is how it looked like after. And we are not even at the top here because it ran to 20K. So when we get to current pricing, your scaling right now, you are at that flip. Lots of on-chain metrics, lots of longer term stuff has been flashing very oversold levels down here, longer term oversold levels. And you just, you had this downside, and you could have been thinking like, yeah, maybe this was the top, the distribution top, we could have broken down. But now you got that impulse to the upside, and I feel it's the same one or similar, in a similar fashion, that you had over there. And this is our scaling, right? And that scaling can look like this. You could be going like that, I feel, and by the way, that story that I forgot to say here is that lots of people, even those who held, were then selling, somewhere around here, and then they were not able to flip back to bullish. Even people who, let's say bought it anywhere in here and made a great profit up to here, they were not able to buy back because they thought, hey, this was it, I made my profit, I'll wait for at least the big retest down here, or some bear market. It goes like this, and where do you think they FOMO? They FOMO back up there. And this is how this bull market can hurt you. And guess what? From this price point, even during the peak of the bear market, the market never comes back to those levels. It never retested these levels. Can you imagine that right now we might never retest these levels in the future again? Most people cannot. I'm not saying this will happen, but I'm saying there is a big risk to the upside that lots of people are absolutely not seeing. Like, mostly the way market part, and obviously, most crypto natives, they don't even care about Bitcoin. They are mostly in alts. But like, some are, but even the natives think of BTC like, yeah, maybe we have run to like 120 and that's a failed shoulder and then it's over. Maybe, maybe 150. Like, wow, that's crazy. Again, you want to stay bullish. You actually do not want to try to predict, but I think this market has a good potential to go higher up. But you want to stay bullish as long as the market is. And once again, don't overcomplicate stuff. Just try to view it as it is. We had macro support. We had very efficiently traded downtrend here into it. That downtrend has been broken. And surely, we can waffle here, but just like we have waffled around those levels back then, you can get something like this. It's totally fair, but you want to keep it simple, in my opinion.
Are you expecting acceleration into May, June, July for a bullish summer? Because I know that we talk about seasonality a lot, and Q1 seasonality did not hit this time around. More times than not, it does, but it didn't this time around. What are your expectations over the remaining, I guess, weeks of the quarter?
Well, I think this quarter is going to be bullish for sure, because with this monthly candle, it's just very hard to see it go down. And again, my stance currently is that the only way we lose the current lows is that if we go into the largest recession since 1929. So I tend to think this quarter ends up being bullish. This is how it looks like. Again, kind of, it just so much reminds me of this period, man. Like you get some quarters up, then pause, quarters up, then pause, quarters up, and then you really start to go.
So one
I'm
thing
not sure.
I would ask you about is you mentioned that you think the 4-year cycle probably doesn't have a super great chance of kind of sticking this time around. But if we did have a really bullish second half of the year, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, it would really kind of look like previous cycles. The timing might be a little bit different. But if we did rally from here through the end of the year, we'd more or less be on track with what the previous cycles have done in terms of like length from bear market bottom to global cycle peak, right?
If we did anything in this regard in very quick fashion, I think that's the top, and you would go in some form of bear market. So
Ooh, we have a request for the COVID fractal of the S&P on current S&P. I know Tommy's done this before.
I
Yeah,
already know what
that's
Tommy's
smart.
object tree looks like.
Yeah, it's terrifying.
I don't think you're going to see equities make meaningful new highs for a while, but I do think that Bitcoin can.
Jack, would you humor us?
Wait, what do you want me to do?
He wants you to put the COVID fractal of the S&P on the current price action of the S&P. Well, this might be bullish. It could be bullish.
And like after COVID or before COVID?
I mean, just looking at it, I'd say just grab that COVID fractal and.
I mean, is it like this?
Maybe that's kind of what.
Or is it more like that we are yet to have that drop? So is it more like this? I think it's more like this.
That would make more sense to me.
I'm not sure I'm seeing like that quick of a recovery for stocks, personally.
Yeah.
But I'm not seeing new lows either. but I rather think like a more sideways, slow grind up action for equities at first. I actually tend to think that equities might rally up here. Now that I'm thinking, because I've been trying to think of the move. I think we have a run up here, and then there is the pullback.
Yeah.
Oh no, we lost Max.
Uh-oh.
I am, man. I am. I've been hurt by the market makers too many times, man. So but at the same time, what I see lots of the people do is that when they get hurt enough times by the market makers, they essentially end up being a perma bears. And they just want everything to end and everything to like just do this. And that's also not the way it is. Even if you look at the craziest events, you still see the market go up for lots of logical reasons. But just don't become the guy who is like, yeah, everything's coming down. Don't become the bear porn engager. Can you look at the BTC Max 7 on a high time frame? I actually have the chart here. I could put it in. I think this is a chart that's also ready to blow up, and something what we just discussed. I think
That
this chart
that chart looks insane, by the way. That looks so it looks like gold before it broke out.
Yeah, that looks. It's just sort of like that. Bring it finally. We waited so patiently. Yeah, this chart looks amazing.
Do you know what does not look amazing though?
The like button.
Oh no.
It looks horrible, man. It looks just like, what are we even doing here?
Am I cooking for nothing?
You're not for nothing. That's almost being too generous. You're cooking for negative. Okay.
All right.
I just don't even know. I mean, 110 likes, guys. What are we doing today? We're going to run a quick little commercial for the BB Terminal, guys. Your all-in-one super website, every tool that you could ever need or want to navigate crypto. We put it together for you guys. All right. Check this out. Let's run the likes up, and we'll be back in 1 minute.
Tired of outdated trading tools, confused charts, dozens of tabs, endless stress? You're not alone. Introducing BB Terminal, your all-in-one command center for crypto trading. Track your portfolio, monitor the markets, stay ahead, all in one place. From chaos to clarity, from struggle to success. BB Terminal.
Boom. Oh. He rage quit. Oh, he's back.
Uh-oh.
He
No,
took that.
seriously. We have this Slavic celebration of the spring coming in called Burning the Witches. And I could be celebrating out there, which I'm still going to, but I could be going out there now. Instead, I decided to cook for you, but no likes. Hog lean futures, Tucker. Bring it.
Oh, we need the lean hog futures.
Oh boy.
Okay. What is it? Hog.
What is it? Like you don't know.
There we
That's
go.
crazy pretending like you don't know.
Hog. All right. There it is, baby.
Kind of looks like bullish reclaim PO3.
Yeah.
Good time to buy some hogs.
Kind of looks like
Like Bitcoin.
It does.
low key. I mean, Bitcoin did this thing too, right?
Put Bitcoin down there.
Let me get rid of these. No,
Why does it look
boy.
like Bitcoin?
Why is it Bitcoin? Yeah.
Commodity.
Commodity.
Why is the best correlation in the market Bitcoin and lean hogs right now?
It's a good question.
I demand an answer.
Commodity. Super cycle.
That's the same line though.
This is interesting.
Wait, should we run the correlation coefficient?
Do we have pork market?
Yeah.
It's probably on Solana.
Come on now.
Send pork chops higher.
Is this not going to work? Should be working. I don't know why it's not working. Either way, you can see it with your own eyes. Breakout. Breakout. What is happening right now? Oh my God. Boom.
I'm a
Identical.
little uncomfortable by how similar that chart looks.
That's crazy.
No, I'm not going to Bitcoin Vegas, man. Decided against it. Don't
That
really
works
want to go to
better
Vegas.
To be honest.
What'd you say?
That works better for me, to be honest.
I was just thinking about it, and I'm like, man, we need the market to go up. I can't risk traveling. Travel curse is real. And second, it's like, what do I want to go to Vegas for? It's expensive. I'm married. I have a kid. Like, what am I going to do in Vegas? Like, I don't drink. Like, what am I going to do? Like, go sit at like some nightclub and like spend $1,000 with a bunch of like Bitcoin nerds. I think I'm probably good on that. But maybe next year, you know.
When we need a pullback. When we cash out and need a pullback.
Yeah.
Send everyone to Vegas.
Job's not finished.
Job's not finished. We are data dependent. Jesus.
Can we look at ETH, Tucker? Let's look at ETH.
Yeah. Let's see. ETH versus lean hogs or what?
No, just ETH.
Do you know
I think
what's-
next month we could see ETH 1,000 points higher than here.
I need to see this trend line retested. You have to flip this, which I think it will, but 23s. Let me see 23s first.
Can you go to the month? Keep that up there. Go to the monthly time frame. How about like the 2 week? Yeah. No, I mean that trend line will play. You know,
That trend line will definitely play.
It will
it'll
play. It's gonna
It'll
annoy
be
the crap out of me that it's gonna play. It's gonna do that, reject, and then go higher.
Yeah, it's gonna do that.
It's gonna just piss me off watching it reject locally too, and I'm for sure gonna fade it.
For sure. I already know
For
I'm gonna
sure.
fade it.
Yeah,
Of course I'm gonna fade
of
it.
course I'm gonna fade my own trend line. Of course.
Have to.
You guys need to study the art of the like button, that's for sure. I have not studied the art of the trencher. Guys, Bitcoin Cash is looking so incredibly bullish.
Oh my god. Bitcoin
And
Cash.
Bitcoin Cash, I just looked at it accidentally. And if that chart is looking bullish, that means the whole market must be. Just saying.
BCH. Pull it up.
BCH.
BCH. Okay.
If you're gonna go, you can even see it here. But if you jump to the monthly chart,
Yeah.
you
That's
will
a nice
absolutely love this retest.
Yeah.
The sweep and the monthly candle, and it's like, oh my god, moon is coming.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean for the broader market? Can we put down at the bottom like total or something, Tucker?
Total.
Is there any signal with Bitcoin Cash pumping versus like total? Does it mean anything? So usually it just pumps when we're getting into like later in the cycle, right?
Mhm. This was kind of this kind of led.
Is there like a history than the Binance chart for Bitcoin Cash?
Wait, what do you want?
Just like Bitcoin Cash, but like more price history.
Could I use the crypto
Is there
chart?
just like a total chart?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. It looks like it blows off when things get a little frothy.
Yeah, it blows off with the rest of
Good news is I wouldn't say it's been frothy yet. It's moved up a little bit, but
this is kind of a nice
yeah, a little
signal.
divergence. Yeah, I like that. But you know what I don't like is that we just did that.
Boom, boom. Yeah, we did just do that.
Yeah,
It's
let's
over.
get this off the chart. Actually,
All
let's
right,
stop
all right,
making it.
No, wait. The Bitcoin Cash monthly chart looks insanely bullish. Insanely bullish. Like that monthly sweep into that demand is just
Mhm.
too
All right, how
juicy.
does the Bitcoin Cash Bitcoin pair look?
Down only.
I mean locally though, like for this cycle. Do we think it could pump? That looks bullish.
Does it?
No. I mean, not terrible. Sweep the low, maybe move up.
Hang on. So wait, do we have? Okay, we have total below. Mm,
I think that first pump, wasn't that the ETF?
this one?
Yeah,
No,
that one
the-
was the ETF pump.
What ETF? No, this was the ETF. January of 24.
No, I mean on Bitcoin Cash. I think there were some rumors regarding BTC.
Did they get an ETF?
No.
I think it was maybe the first one, and they were discussing that they will do it, or they didn't specify which Bitcoin or something like that.
Can you imagine if they approved an ETF for Bitcoin Cash and not Bitcoin? Oh my goodness. Crime.
That would be too much.
One thing I particularly like about the Bitcoin chart here is that, not Bitcoin Cash, is that Bitcoin is, I would say, kind of reclaimed its yearly open. Like, I don't know if a lot of people are acknowledging that, but we're just kind of floating right at our yearly open. Which
I
ain't
feel
too
like
bad.
since most people just don't want to see anything bullish, they just completely ignored it. Because we have totally reclaimed it.
Yeah, where's the let's see. Where's January? Is this the yearly open? Yeah.
I like that because if we end up pushing up off this level, then anybody who's sold below the yearly open is just cooked.
I mean, there's the yearly chart.
So we're kind of right at it.
Yeah, I mean, we are right at it. There's been both a bull and a bear trap this year. So
Quite a quarterly candle.
mm-hmm.
Imagine if it engulfs the Q4. Sorry, Q1.
Bullish Q2 candle.
I almost wonder if Q2 could be green, but maybe like still within the Q1 range, and then Q3 is actually when we get expansion.
Possible.
We need to continue to see Bitcoin decouple from equities, in my opinion, because I do think Bitcoin could enter, price discovery, maybe even aggressively at some point this year, but I do not think that equities will.
Yeah.
But what if that doesn't fit my bias?
But what if it doesn't matter, Max? What if it doesn't matter?
I mean, if you look at Bitcoin against QQQ, Jackus was looking at it against the Mag 7, which is basically the same thing. But Bitcoin against Legacy looks really, really bullish. It's just hard to imagine because a lot more times than not, you kind of need equity strength for Bitcoin. Not always, but more times than not.
Just do market cap. Where's the market cap chart?
Scroll down.
Wait, BTC future.
Yeah.
Crypto cap. There you go.
See. Okay, it's pretty much the same.
It looks very bullish.
Yeah.
But it makes me nervous because I know that more times than not, a lot more times than not, you typically need both rallying. But maybe not this time.
Mm-hmm.
But I actually don't think that QQQ looks too bad. Like maybe let's just take a quick look at it.
QQQ.
Yeah, just look at the NASDAQ. Can you zoom in and just draw like a diagonal line across the highs? That doesn't look terrible to me.
No,
But maybe I'm the lone bull.
no, you're not. You're not.
I mean, this is Joe Biden's market. Let's not forget.
Don't forget it. Never forget.
Yeah, don't forget whose market this is.
I kind of feel so many people still think we go into a recession. Like 60% of fund managers CEO, 60% of CEOs in S&P 500, I think, expect recession.
So, Jackus, did you hear what I was saying on the morning call with our Discord about that? I'm like, I keep seeing these recession calls, but the big question is like, what does that even really mean? You know,
Absolutely nothing.
because I'm like, it's like we could be in a recession and equities could still go higher for a multitude of different reasons. It's like they just say like, oh, something's in contraction, like we're gonna have a recession, and it's like we just don't have like 2000.com style collapses and GFC style, multi-year pullbacks anymore. They don't let it happen. So I'm just like, let's define what that even means. Like, I don't even think that I look at the technicals and I say like, okay, structure looks fine. Maybe we don't go on some like crazy, like cyclical blow off style rip, but like these guys calling for multi-year recessions, I'm like, what? How do you think that's even going to be possible? Like, they don't let that happen anymore. Every pullback that we've had since 2008 is met with like scammery to prop the market higher.
I mean, this was.
This was a bear market.
Even
yeah.
then, it lasted 1 year.
Yeah, it was only a year. Yeah.
So it's like that was the fastest tightening cycle that we've ever had, and it lasted a year, and then it was met with like straight up for 2 years.
To add to the discussion regarding the CEOs and 60% of expecting recession, this is exactly how you get a divided market opinion, because someone can look at it and be like, oh my god, sell everything, we are going to zero. And then if you are a bit smarter, you will look at the reality of things, and that's that all of these CEOs, they on one hand say that they expect a recession, but on the other, they are not cutting the expenses, they are not laying off people, and instead you have lots of insiders and smart money actually buying. So that's the reality of the positioning. So on one hand, you scare the public by saying, hey, recession. On the other, you still don't expect it because you're not firing up people from their jobs. You instead keep them in. So
I'm not necessarily in the recession camp, but I do want to push back a little bit on the fact that you have insiders buying. I don't know if we're quite seeing that at the moment.
we saw the largest buys since that AI startup in 2023. That's at least a metric that I saw.
I think
The
most
one-
of the buying is still pretty retail driven, but I will say I'm not increasingly in the recession camp. I actually think there are more and more parallels between what we're seeing with current NASDAQ price action versus like the 60s and 70s price action that we saw from something like the Dow Jones. And I know if we're talking about like the economy, typically, at least the market hasn't really cared too much about anything other than the price appreciation of big tech stocks is kind of a reflection of that. I do think that we've hit a long-term saturation point as far as these tech valuations as a whole or as a collective. And I think that's really kind of what's driving me when I say, well, I don't really think that we're getting aggressive price discovery on equities really imminently. But I do think, to some degree, as long as those companies they're going to continue to get passive flows, like, let's be honest, if you're not seeing that like huge deterioration from the job market, which we haven't seen, then I don't really see any reason why the Qs would have 2008 level downside. And I also don't think that yields are very conducive to a 2008 style scenario either. But Tucker, if you could pull up like the Dow Jones in the 60s, I really think that the Qs look almost identical to the way that we did in like 1966.
Dear God, 1966.
Well, you had the Great Depression for the Dow Jones, which was kind of the equivalent of the tech bubble popping. You had an echo bubble. You had a very large move higher, and then you kind of hit a saturation point with economic values that led to a very long-term range forming. And I kind of feel like tech is beginning to enter that period where we probably see extended sideways from it. I need you to zoom out on the Qs a little bit more, though.
Zoom out on the Qs. Okay.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah, if you compare like the tech bubble popping to the Great Depression on the Dow Jones.
The tech bubble. This?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, you want me to... Okay, geez, I gotta really... Dear God.
You're going to love me today.
Tech bubble popping. So... This was your tech bubble.
I think we're beginning to enter that ranging period.
This was like this.
No, I think that the structure right above what you have circled on the Dow Jones is what you have circled on QQQ.
Okay, so this is that.
Right.
This one's like this bullshit. Right.
Right.
And
I
then,
think we're basically just replicating what we did on the Dow Jones. But big tech valuations have clearly hit a saturation point, trading like 20 to 25 PE ratios. They could go higher, sure, but I just don't really think that the ammo is necessarily there for them to do that.
we're gonna fit this. I mean, this might even be. You talking about like this?
Yeah, I mean, if you just fit it from the Great Depression, then it it lines up even cleaner, honestly.
Okay.
And I'm not saying it has to be like exactly the same on a granular level, right? Because I mean, look, we're talking about like a 50, 60 year period in a totally different market environment. But I think there are a lot of parallels, and this isn't completely foreign to this show because obviously we've talked about the commodity supercycle, which occurred in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Commodities are currently at historically depressed prices relative to equity markets.
Okay. Jeez, bro. That's pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. That's pretty good. It's a pretty good fit. Jesus Christ. Oh no.
But I think this is bullish though for Bitcoin. Like, let me preface it by saying that when we talk about Bitcoin's graduation into a commodity level asset, stagflationary period is probably very bullish for Bitcoin and for gold.
So when do we send out of this? In about 11 years? Holy shit.
Is someone talking?
Can you not hear us, Jackus? Jackus?
Did we lose Jackus?
I don't know if you can hear us.
Oh
Or
man.
it's just a silent appreciation?
Oh no.
No, he can't hear us.
Can't hear us. Oh no.
Uh-oh.
Can the comments help us out here?
I texted him.
They're just gaslighting him. You can't hear them. Oh my
They are
god.
talking stuff about you. Yeah, bro. This is 2036 right here before we go.
But I think you have commodity outperformance in that period, and you also have kind of just like a different individual name every few years that's probably doing really well, right? So you have something like Nvidia, which might cool off a little bit more, range for a while, but then at the same time, you'll probably have another big tech stock that comes up with some new innovation that we get to bid. I don't know. It's going to be a trader's market, though. I do feel confident saying that.
From 66 to 82, bro. That is insane. The fractal doesn't have it as long. Like this was 6,000 days. This would be 4,000 days, but 66 to 82, man. 16 years. That's wild.
I think it's increasingly likely that we're just replicating this, which is max pain for doomers expecting a great recession, but also max pain for moon boys, specifically in equities. I think in crypto, you'll probably be fine, especially Bitcoin.
Yeah, even look, I mean, you don't even break the 2022 lows ever in this, right? Like you get close, you get 286 on the Qs, but yeah, that would be max pain for people looking for like a 50-year breakdown type of thing.
I'm not going to bet against the American exceptionalism.
Yeah.
But this is probably like the easiest way to transition into a multipolar world, right? I have to imagine that Chinese equities also kind of pick up during this period. Oh, we lost him.
Who, Jackus?
Yeah.
Well, it's about that time anyways, isn't it, Tommy?
It is.
Here he's back. He's back.
Can you hear us now, Jackus?
I swear that I didn't.
We were
hear
talking
you
for like 15 minutes.
I was like, why is it so quiet for so long? And then I was like, I think the chat is trolling me that you guys are talking. I have no idea what happened because like my sound was going on and did you guys hear me?
No. Well, we heard you being like, guys. Is
Yeah.
anyone talking?
Yeah, literally. It's like, I do not know, but suddenly it just stopped talking on my end.
Jackus, what do you think about this?
Well, I've been discussing the 70s as a possibility for some time. And I still think it kind of comes just to a different end than it happened back then, because I think we didn't have as much of a printing as we had this time around, especially after COVID. So that might change a thing. And maybe if like we look at the current price action, but disregard the COVID printing, then maybe sort of we would be going sideways since COVID. If that makes sense. But I could see some sideways here. I totally could for equities. Maybe like a slow grind up, but very slow, not the one we had before.
I was saying I think this can benefit Bitcoin a lot. A stagflationary period.
I mean, bro, like this says like we're going up. We're gonna double top or whatever, basically. Have you played around with this zoomed in, Tommy?
Yeah, I have.
Well,
It's kind of what's driving my bias that we sweep that low again and then probably get some sort of like stimulus that nukes the dollar. And I mean, that would probably be the most bullish scenario for Bitcoin.
Can you make bars patterns include wicks?
I think that does include wicks.
It does. Well, then, I mean, the bottom's in, brother. What are we talking about? Like, this was your leg down. Oh, I see. You're looking for this candle right here. I see. Because obviously it's not lined up perfectly. Like, it'd probably be more like that. Whatever. You're looking for this. I see. And then we just grind up into the end of the year, basically.
Yeah, I kind of feel like it's going to be accompanied by the dollar just getting turbo nuked. I'm not going to lie.
Mm-hmm.
And that is going to be the most beautiful bull case for Bitcoin.
Yeah.
But that's just some dubious speculation.
All right, brother, you want to call it a day?
Yeah, I think that's a good spot. That's good.
Yeah.
We can run do we want to run another ad?
Go ahead, brother.
Which one?
Up to you. Which one did I don't even know. Up to you.
All right, guys. Before we send you on your way, I just wanted to show you a little bit more of the BB terminal before we officially wrap up. But yeah, we hope that you guys enjoyed the show as always, and for your viewing pleasure.
Tired of outdated trading tools, confused charts, dozens of tabs, endless stress? You're not alone. Introducing BB Terminal, your all-in-one command center for crypto trading. Track your portfolio, monitor the markets, stay ahead, all in one place. From chaos to clarity, from struggle to success. BB Terminal,